Namaskar, everyone. It's me, Govinda Puri, and I'm going to talk about the writing process and the oral communication process, which is based on our course, Business Communication, BBS second year. So let me go ahead. I hope this video will be helpful to you to understand the communication process. The first one is the writing process. So what do you think the writing is? Writing is a thinking. It is a kind of thinking process. Within writing, there comes pre-writing, drafting, revising, editing, proofreading, publishing. So this is a kind of process. Writing is not based on the product, but it is based on the process. So we manage the chunks, various chunks, and try to create a kind of meaning in the writing process. So writing is a quality product as well. So one-time writing may not be sufficient for us. That's why we need to write, rewrite, revise, edit, and we also see from the beginning. That's why it is called recursive process. What is rewriting then? Rewriting is kind of establishing purpose. While establishing purpose, we have to be clear what we are going to do, whether we are going to inform or persuade or entertain. That purpose should be clear at the very beginning. And who are the target audience of our writing? Who will be reading our writing? That has to be considered well. For example, it is maybe written to our peers, or maybe to the teachers, or maybe to the community, or maybe family, or as a whole to the public. And what we do next, we generate and discover some ideas that we have in our mind. So that comes through reading. When we read the many published books, journals, and we inculcate the ideas in the mind. Next, we observe the environment, the situation. That also helps to generate the ideas in the mind, and the same ideas we write in the paper. So it is the process of organizing thoughts before drafting, which we call pre-writing activities. We need to do a lot of things before we write. So we can create different ideas so before we write. So there are some pre-writing strategies. We can write freely whatever comes to our mind first, and then maybe looping, or we can make wave cluster or outline what we are going to write. Which one? Either it is creative writing or academic writing or free writing. We create a kind of map in our mind. And for doing that, we may view the film or art, or we may read our newspaper, make a list of the ideas, brainstorming, which we call brainstorming, bringing many ideas into the mind and presenting them in the graphic organizer. We can also use graphic organizer in pre-writing stages. So writing does not come all of a sudden. It comes after long experience or observation, maybe reading. The ideas comes, and that ideas we organize in the writing. Then only we go to the drafting phase. Sometimes after brainstorming, we can let the students work independently. Maybe handwritten or word processor we can use. Either we can type in the computer or we can write in the paper. Our teacher confers with the students, use pre-writing as a guide, and whatever we had already mapped, that we can use while drafting. Drafting a single draft may not be the final one. We may go revising the draft, or there can be the multiple drafts before we revise and edit. The next phase in the writing process is revising and editing. So that means re-seeing what we have drafted already, or some ideas may be very prominent for us to convey in the writing, or maybe some ideas are not necessary that we need to, remove from the draft. So reorganization or development of subject matter, it's necessary in the revising or editing phase. And we also change the styles or stylistic changes, many lessons, maybe grammar, structure. We see that teacher models own writing. In the classroom, teacher can model it, or the mentor can help us how to organize them. And then think aloud for adding details. If we need to add more supporting details in our writing, we need to bring some counter arguments in the writing, then we should do it here. Then we should go for proofreading, and proofreading uh, can be done through various ways. For example, one is reading aloud. Alone, we can read and we can, realize where are the mistakes, or where are the things very, roughly drafted. Or we can read it to the audience and they can give you feedback which help you to make it better. And then for doing that, we can attain to correctness, punctuation, spelling, word choice, usage, unity, coherence, we can see during proofreading page. And then make necessary changes while doing. Then we go for publishing. Publishing, seek authentic audience, class, we keep spaces, blog, bulletin board, website, community paper. So there can be many ways to get published your write-up. So that adds relevance and raises motivations. When you get published once in the newspaper or in the journal or maybe online forum, then you get motivated and you start writing. So writing is not for you, writing is for others. So you write and you provide the information, maybe you entertain or you give the essential information to the audience. So writing can be of both product oriented and a process oriented, and writing is organized way of expressing ideas. It is concrete and it should be relevant as well, should be correct and eloquent. That's why writing is is a craft. It's a kind of craft. So next one is communication process, oral communication process. Oral communication defined, in different ways. It's a two-way communication. Maybe when you have a thought, uh, or you construct that thought into the language, and that becomes message, and then interpretation and thought again, individual information. The process is given over here. You can see the information, it goes there. So oral communication is the process expressing information or ideas by word or word of mouth. We speak, we communicate orally. And oral communication is the process of verbally transmitting information and ideas from one individual or group to the another. So it is said that it does not matter what you say, but what matters is how you say it. The way of expression, the way of communication is very important. How impactfully or effectively you expressed or communicated your ideas to the next person. That is very important. So oral communication describes any type of interaction that makes use of spoken words. It implies communication through mouth. And there are some advantages of oral communication. When you communicate orally, that saves times. And when you talk or interact or speak, that becomes more forceful. It says, of meanings are conveyed, immediate feedback. You also receive immediate feedback from the audience. It promotes informal communications and more effective uh, with the groups, better for conveying feelings and emotions. But in writing, you cannot find such characteristics. But there are some limitation of oral communication. For example, distance can be a hurdle. In the absence of mechanical device, you may not communicate too well. Sometimes you can communicate in distance as well, but you should use some mechanical devices. And it is unsuitable for lengthy messages. If you have long messages to convey, then that may be boring. That at that time you should write. Sometimes message cannot be retained for a long time. So when message is conveyed through oral communication, that cannot be long lasting. But in writing, it may be long lasting. And word once uttered cannot be taken back. This is the limitation of oral communication. What you say, that is said. You cannot bring it back. But in writing, you can you can erase and you can add. So you can go through lots of processes. That's why it's hard to control voice, pitch, and tone. Demands thinking coherently as one speaks. So when you are speaking at the same time, you should think very critically or coherently. So thinking and speaking at the same time. That's why it's challenging. Sometimes it demands, yeah, conscious mind, and it may lead to misunderstanding to the next party, to the audience sometimes. In communication process, there are barriers. The various barriers have been discussed over there. For example, status, with whom you are talking with. If the person whom you are talking to is of higher status, then you may not be able to express well. That's why the next one is a halo effects. Halo effects means so sometimes what happens, if you have a positive perception of any person, or if you find anyone who is very close to you, then that may impact in your communications. And sometimes communication can be complex, in a closed and all-knowing mind, in a poor retention, and premature evaluations, abstracting cognitive dissonance and language barrier that can be. But essential things for effective oral communications are clear pronunciation. What you have to do, you have to pronounce the words and then phrases very clearly and should express the things in short or brevity and a precision as well. Convictions, what is the tradition or convictions that should be stated well, and logical sequence should be there in communication process. Appropriate word choice that can effectively communicate with other persons. Avoid hackneyed phrases and cliches. Sometimes these cliches or phrases can be contextually meaningful, and that cannot be applied in all these situations. That's why you have to avoid such types of phrases or cliches. And we need to use natural voices. Sometimes we have heard in our context, people make a quite different voice, different tone that creates barriers for communication. That's why try to be natural. Nature is perfect. So finding the right register. So in which field or area you are speaking, then you need to find some the words or the style of speaking or writing of that particular field, which we call it. There are many types of oral communications. For example, face-to-face, or video conferencing, telephone, active passive communication. Sometimes one keeps on speaking and another one listens, and speakers may be active and listeners may be passive. That may not be two-way communication sometimes. The next one is interview. Interviews are also kind of oral communication, group discussion, presentation, and grapevine. These are the types of communications. And group work and collaboration process are very essential for enhancing your communication skills. There, you need to share ideas, you'd have collaboration, discussion, community, interactions, and many things comes together like brainstorming. So you need to do that. Okay, you can see here some advantages of group works or teamwork. The advantages are like students develop a new perspective when you discuss, that leads to greater personal satisfactions. If you want to settle down any problem, then you should discuss. You should work in groups. That helps to create kind of better satisfactions, and results in better team working skills, enhanced overall learning. Students learn how to overcome conflict. If there are any conflict, they learn from the teamwork, group work. But there are some disadvantages as well. Sometimes your group work can cause conflict between group members, or maybe unequal participation from students. All students may not be equally participating, and at that time it creates kind of problem. Students may avoid the tasks. Students might have this skeptical nature, and it can be extremely time consuming, and individual needs are dominated by the needs of the group. This happens. So there are some guidelines for teamwork. You can see, you can form a team, select a team leader, establish let's say ground rules, what should be done and what should not be done, and also respect each others. Likewise, be flexible. It is very essential to be flexible, dynamic, and respect each other's. Meet, discuss, and share, and use technology if you have, like online video conferencing apps or applications. So this is how you can make your communication process better. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe the channel to get more updated videos in the days to come, and also write the comments if you want to have other videos from this channel. Thank you very much everyone for watching this one.